Good morning everyone, it's Mr Winrow here and today's assembly is about the general election. Hopefully you all know by now that Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, has called for a general election to take place on the 4th of July. This is an event that by British law must happen once every 5 years, but the three most recent general elections all took place within 2 years of each other. You may well have been in primary school for the elections in 2015, 17 and 19. So the last election was 5 years ago, in which Boris Johnson led the Conservative Party to a convincing victory. And hopefully you can see from one of the politics displays in B23 the extent of the Conservative victory in 2019. For those of you in year 10 and below, that election will have happened when you were in primary school. And so you might not know much about elections, the job of the Prime Minister, the role of government. So, what actually happens? So unlike in America, where they elect a president, we don't directly elect our Prime Minister. Instead, the leader of the political party who have the most seats at the end of a general election becomes the Prime Minister. What is a seat? A seat refers to the 650 people who are elected to sit in the House of Commons, which is the most powerful chamber of our Parliament. To win the election, to win a majority government, you must have more than half of the seats in the House of Commons. Each seat represents a constituency, an area made up roughly of 70,000 people that an MP represents. So Bolton School is in the Bolton North East constituency, which was, until the election was called, represented by a Conservative MP, Mark Logan. Now, Mark Logan made the headlines a couple of weeks ago when he not only declared that he wouldn't be standing in this election, but he will be campaigning for the Labour Party, not the Conservatives. So at 6 a.m. on the 4th of July, people from every corner of the United Kingdom will head to their local polling station to cast their vote. That's quite often a church or a primary school. You might remember in 2019, your primary school may have been closed for the day in order to allow it to become a polling station so people could go and vote. Once at the polling station, you're given a ballot paper with the names of all the hopeful candidates listed. And to cast your vote, you put a cross in the box next to the name of the person that you would like to vote for. You do this in private before dropping your ballot paper into a locked box to ensure that your vote is only known to you. At the end of the election, whichever candidate receives the most votes wins a seat in Parliament. Each MP becomes responsible for representing one local area. In a similar way to a former school council representative, they take your views to the school council to discuss them with colleagues, peers, members of staff. So at 10 o'clock on the 4th of July, the counting begins, and it will be a long night to the following morning. Once the counting is over, the number of seats for each party will be confirmed and the new Prime Minister will be announced. And who are those leaders? Well, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, leads the Conservative Party. Sir Keir Starmer leads the Labour Party, who you can see him there to the right of the Prime Minister. And to the left of Rishi Sunak, you can see the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey. They are often referred to as the three largest parties in British politics. However, you may also know some other individuals. We have had a political party change their leader during the election campaign. So Reform UK's leader, Richard Tice, handed over control to Nigel Farage once the campaign had started. The Green Party actually have two leaders. They're Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey. And there are many other parties all across the UK. In Scotland, there's the SNP. In Wales, Plaid Cymru. In Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin, the Democratic Unionists. And then there are parties that stand all across the United Kingdom with various political views and aims. They range from the Christian Democrats to the Monster Raving Loony Party. So, who will be Prime Minister when we wake up on the 5th of July? Some of the important roles of the Prime Minister and the government include allocating funds to the NHS and to schools, negotiating treaties and trade deals with other countries, and deciding the school curriculum. Almost every aspect of yours and my life is impacted by the work of government. Price caps on household bills, childcare, old age pensions. There is so much that is under the control of government. And these changes to significant aspects of our lives occur through new laws passed through Parliament, which will be based on the promises made by the party during the election campaign. For the last 14 years, the Conservatives have been in government with a succession of prime ministers. David Cameron was prime minister. David Cameron was prime minister in 2010. He was replaced in 2016 by Theresa May, who was then herself replaced by Boris Johnson. He was prime minister until he resigned, replaced by Liz Truss, who served for just less than 50 days before being replaced by Rishi Sunak. We've had 5 Conservative prime ministers in the last 14 years, and for some of you, your entire lives will have been lived under Conservative government. This election is set to bring about large-scale change. Many high-profile politicians are retiring or set to lose their seat to an MP from a different party. And at the time of creating this video, it's widely expected that Labour is on track for its first election success since 2005. This would be a significant shift in how British government operates. It's often said that young people don't participate or engage in politics. Now, I know that my politics classes and politics club feel differently. However, I wouldn't blame a lot of you for feeling as though politics doesn't impact your life. However, it does have importance to you now and in the future. Plans have been announced by both of the major political parties that will have a significant impact on your lives. If the Conservatives win, they've proposed that once you turn 18, you will have to complete a year of national service, either through the armed forces or volunteering in the local community. Labour, on the other hand, have proposed that they would lower the voting age to 16. They argue that if you're old enough to pay tax, you're old enough to decide how that money gets spent. So whichever party wins the election, their policies will certainly have a real impact on each of you. In the final few weeks of the summer term, you are going to have the opportunity to learn more about the political parties of the United Kingdom. And on the 4th of July, you will take part in the very first Bolton School Foundation mock election. In the past, these have been run separately in the boys and girls divisions, but for the first time, we're going to run the mock election as one school. Every form will be put into one of 3 constituencies: Bolton North East, Bolton South East, and Bolton West. Whichever party wins the most overall votes in that constituency will win it. To help you decide who to vote for, our sixth form politics students have been assigned to one of the 6 major parties in the United Kingdom. They're going to act as representatives of the views and beliefs of those parties. And those parties are the Conservatives, Green, Labour, Liberal Democrat, Monster Raving Loony, and Reform UK parties. I have to stress here that the people involved in this election have not chosen the parties themselves. Many of them will be practicing their acting skills. They will be campaigning on behalf of parties that they may not actually support. I hope that you've seen posters around school, because party representatives are on the campaign trail, talking to you about their parties, hopefully handing out badges or stickers and trying to persuade you to vote for them in the mock election. As is the case in the real election, we will be taking opinion polls, sampling groups of students across the foundation to see how the popularity of each party changes throughout the election period. You can keep up to date with these latest trends around school. And I would encourage each and every one of you to participate actively in this process. Whether that be speaking with our sixth formers, speaking to politics teachers around school, keeping up to date with the election campaign through reputable news outlets. Please make sure you set aside some time in the next few weeks to learn more about how our political system works. This does come with a warning. Naturally, the more you learn about politics, the more you'll find yourself disagreeing with friends and family about your opinions on the election. And this is normal, and we encourage healthy, meaningful debate. However, this should never lead to mockery, abuse, or harassment. For a politics teacher, a general election is the equivalent of the Cricket World Cup or the Summer Euros. I'm very excited about the ongoing and upcoming drama surrounding who will be moving in or out of 10 Downing Street. It can be entertaining to watch party leaders fall into lakes, show off their terrible football skills, or get soaked as they stand in the rain on live television. But this election is going to determine our country's direction for at least the next 5 years. And by the next election, most of you listening will be able to vote. Potentially all of you, should Labour win and votes at 16 are granted. The more you pay attention to politics now, the more confident you will be when the opportunity arises to exercise your democratic right for real. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good day.